Hello and welcome to Anything Can Happen on a Day, a football podcast where we talk about anything football related with myself, Colin, and my co-presenter sitting next to me, Jordan.
Hello there. Today we'll be covering our Premier League predictions for the upcoming Premier League season, which is going to take place in 3 weeks. I don't know why I'm saying that because it probably won't be 3 weeks by the time it comes out, but we will be covering who we think are going to win the league, what teams we think are going to go down, what teams are going to finish in the top four, etc., etc.
Yeah, so obviously if you guys have any comments you'd like to make in regards to anything we've discussed today, put that in the comment section below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And we'll crack on with the first subject, which is the Premier League winner.
The most important, some might say, unless your team's fighting for relegation.
Yeah, do you wanna take the lead?
I'll take the lead. Prediction? Thank you. So my Premier League winner for this upcoming Premier League season is the same as a lot of people's. It is going to be Manchester City. The reasons being they won the Premier League last season relatively comfortably. They took their foot off the gas a little bit towards the end. They won it without a striker, pretty much. I mean, Aguero wasn't fit for the majority of the season. Jesus didn't play as much as probably a team without a striker should. They used Sterling a lot as a false nine, and they still won the Premier League. Obviously, Gundogan stepped up, got a lot of goals. De Bruyne had another fantastic season. Sterling obviously helped out as well. But if they can secure a striker, it looks like Harry Kane's going to be going to City. I mean, obviously we can't confirm that at all, obviously, but
you made the point that they won the league quite comfortably last year. Do you think that's because they were that good, or do you think all the other teams behind them just had a terrible season?
No, United had a good season, and I think if other teams had pushed them, they would have stepped up, but they didn't really need to perform. I mean, I think it was kind of October time.
It was after the Chelsea game when they beat Chelsea 3-1 at Stamford Bridge, and they just went on to just win all those games, and that's when they really jumped right to the top and stayed there for the remainder of the season.
Obviously, last season was so turbulent. Like we started the season, Liverpool started as normal, then they lost 7-2 to Villa. Start of last season, after the first few games, you thought Liverpool were going to run away with it again. Man United had a poor start to the season; they ended up finishing second, and a good second finish as well. So I think their run of form from like last autumn onwards was absolutely perfect. The defence was obviously sorted. That was the main issue at the start of the season. They lost to Leicester quite heavily. They've sorted out the defence now. They've got probably the best partnership in the Premier League. If they can add in a prolific striker to that mix, obviously there's talk of Grealish going to City as well. I think it will be the point I've always made. When teams win the Premier League, you can't rest on your laurels. You have to go out and buy the best players so you can go and win it again. Obviously, Ferguson during the Premier League years for Manchester United, whenever United won the league, we would go out and we'd bring in better players.
And City have done that every year, even if they haven't won the league. They go out and they go and buy the best players in the Spanish league or the French league, and this year they're probably looking to add somebody from the Premier League.
Yeah, I think they'll get Kane. I don't know about Grealish. He's obviously a Villa fan and he might stay there. But I feel like Harry Kane looks... I can't see him staying at Spurs.
It's the thing that they need. They need a striker, and what better option to have Harry Kane as seasoned Premier League striker?
But even if they didn't bring in Kane, they could still go and win the league right now with their current squad. But I just think if they can get Kane in, who's going to guarantee north of 25, 30 goals a season...
No, quite confident.
I can't. They've got competition. Liverpool are going to come back strong, and obviously, and Chelsea, Man United, Leicester won the league a few years ago, so who knows? Norwich might do wonders, but I can't see them not winning the league. But that's just my take on it anyway. How about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a Chelsea fan, so this is going to be
very biased. Yeah,
I think Chelsea will win the league, but there are some conditionals because I think. Looking based on last year, I think if you looked at goals conceded, obviously Manchester City had the best defence in the league. They conceded, I think it was 32 goals, and Chelsea conceded 36. Now, obviously, I'm not trying to take away anything from City's amazing defence, but obviously, if Chelsea hadn't conceded 5 against West Brom in a game where we were playing 10 men, we're looking at 31 goals conceded throughout the season. That's one of the best defences in the league, and I think there were just certain times in Tuchel's short stint at Chelsea where you think this is a very, very good team defensively, and every time Chelsea are the team known to have a great defence, that's when they win the league. When Jose Mourinho came in, 05, Antonio Conte sorted the defence out. You just think that once they sort out the sort of attacking part of the team, obviously last season Chelsea didn't score that many goals. I think even Arsenal had more goals scored. You know, if we get a striker, if you get someone in like Haaland, you know, we've been linked to Lewandowski, or even if you just give sort of, you know, people like Tammy Abraham a chance to try and get in some goals, you know, if Werner starts scoring goals, then I think Chelsea have a really good chance of winning the league. And of course that is dependent on, you know, players like Azpilicueta, you know, remaining fit and really good, really staying in form, and Thiago Silva not sort of, you know, they're 36, he's 36 now, so, you know, with Chelsea winning the league, it is unlike City where they can win it every year. With Chelsea, I feel like this is their opportunity to do it, and I think they will win it next year if they can get everything that I've just said right. They've also just won the Champions League as well. You know, that happened with Liverpool, came second in the league and won Champions League. Next season they did it. So, you know, there is the potential there. Obviously, I am a little bit biased, so take that with a pinch of salt. So.
Just to kind of, I don't think this is their only opportunity. I think now they've got Tuchel, they can go and compete for the Premier League until he obviously leaves. And if players are getting older, if Azpilicueta, Thiago Silva are coming to the end of their careers, he will go out and buy the appropriate players to replace them. And I also think as well, like Tammy Abraham is a good player. He's not going to win. He's not going to be a Premier League winning striker that you want. He's not going to. I don't think he's going to score 25, 30 goals next season.
No,
even
but
if he starts every game.
But with that point, it was more so much about the current situation with the squad. I don't think it is their only chance to win the league, because they've actually got quite a lot of young players, and actually they're going to be really good players once they really get into their prime. But the team is sort of hinged on these experienced players about to retire and these young players. Obviously, they need to get that balance right. Whereas a team like City, their team is quite balanced in the regards that they don't really need to make that many heavy investments in certain areas of their team. Whereas Chelsea, there is an opportunity with what they've got right now, and I think if give it 2 years with the same players, I don't think they'll have, you know, the power like City to really go out there and win the league.
But they'll replace. That's just what happens when football players get older and players retire. Like, obviously, not to. I'm going to keep talking about Alex Ferguson because he's my hero and I'm a Man United fan. But he obviously went through generations of different players. Obviously, players like Giggs, Scholes, Keane. You know, going back years before that, Hughes, Sharp, getting older, you had to replace them, you had to adapt. Like Man City lost David Silva. Funnily enough, they've got a Phil Foden just in the dressing room who's come up through the youth, so they don't have to spend a penny to replace one of the greatest midfielders in the Premier of all time. So I know what you mean. It's a perfect time to go and win it because of the squad, because Tuchel's come in, won a Champions League, and realistically that team should go on and compete for the Prem now. But it does need a striker. I think Havertz will have a good season this year. I think he'll be much better. I think he looked better towards the back end of last year, and I think he'll come on a little bit more, especially under Tuchel. I don't think he would have probably done it under Lampard.
Almost Berbatov-like.
Almost Berbatov-like, yeah, a little bit, yeah. I know what you mean, that kind of flair and just kind of like very, very relaxed, composed.
He's great to watch.
He's great to watch.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen Berbatov run in his whole career. Just a light jog his whole career. Great player, though.
Doesn't need to run.
Doesn't need to run, mate.
He's got the intelligence.
Imagine if he did run. It'd be like 8 Ballon d'Ors.
I don't think he'd be as good.
Nah, it wouldn't be, would it?
No.
Boring.
Yeah.
Boring the players that run.
Yeah, so that's our predictions for Premier League winners for next season. So if you do agree with us, or if you disagree with us, let us know down below. So
moving on to our top 4 predictions, who we think will join the sides that we've picked to win the league for the top 4. I'm going to go for Chelsea myself to finish in the top 4. For second, yeah. I think they'll finish in second place. I mean, you've glossed over pretty much everything in terms of like why. I mean, for me, I think it's just a case of I haven't seen a Chelsea side as good as the current Chelsea side since probably Conte, maybe even a little bit before that. It does remind me of the original Jose Mourinho Chelsea between 2004 and 2006. Very hard to beat. Don't particularly score a lot of goals, but don't need to. Very, very, very kind of well-versed tactically. Every player. I mean, it always kind of surprises me the absolute contrast between when, you know, 2 managers. Obviously, Lampard was sacked, and then Chelsea looked very, very just poor. Just
Well,
not.
yeah, and that's the thing. I think with Frank, it was,
Frank,
we did try to
do you know him
play.
personally? Sorry,
Yeah, my buddy Frank.
Yeah.
I don't think he had the experience really to give the players, tactical instructions like Tuchel does. And I think what's interesting is when you watch City win the league, it's because they just play their brand of football and they do it so well and they blow teams away. Whereas with Chelsea, they really dig in, they tactically beat those big teams that they need to, and then obviously against the sort of mid-table and lowest sides, they do play their own football. But with City, when they do beat big teams, they're just playing their own brand of football. Whereas with Chelsea, they're a bit more, I don't know, they're way more the underdog, and then, they play a really good game. So the way they go about their victories, when they do win the league, is slightly different. And so, yeah, I mean, for second place, that's...
It's the, based on the back end of last season, based on when Tuchel came in, that's what I'm going for. So obviously Chelsea finished third or fourth in the end. They finished fourth, didn't they?
Yeah.
Behind Liverpool. So obviously, they are gonna finish higher than that. But I think they'll definitely finish within the top three. I think they'll finish second.
Third?
Potentially, it's going to be interesting to see how Liverpool and Man United do. Them obviously my other two for the top four, but I think Chelsea for me are going to finish second. I just feel like every player looks phenomenal since he's come in. Players that I thought would probably not have a future at Chelsea, but that are playing, really, dreadfully under Lampard. I think like all the Chelsea players really want to play well for Tuchel, and they're only going to get better. They're only going to bring in players that help the squad. I really like Tuchel as a manager. I think he's a good guy. I quite like listening to him speak. But also, what you were saying about how Chelsea have to dig in. City can go and win a game very, very easily because they've got the players to do it. Whereas Chelsea's side aren't.
They're not as good as
no, they're not
the
as good as City.
yeah.
And also, Guardiola's had, what did he when he come in 2016? So he's had about 5 years with this squad, whereas Tuchel's just come in. I think if Tuchel stays at Chelsea, he can make them, a force to be reckoned with. The last decade, Chelsea have been very, very up and down. I think if he stays there, they can be a really kind of, well beaters basically.
So my prediction for second place is actually Manchester City. Now, obviously, I'm quite biased. We did talk about my bias already to think that Chelsea could win the league next season. But I think, going back to your point when you said, they won the league quite comfortably last year. Yeah, they did. And I'm not trying to say that they didn't deserve it or anything like that. They 100% deserved it. But I think there were times in City's season last year where they didn't actually play... they did play their best football, and it wasn't as convincing as some of the previous City seasons. And I just think that there are some times where you watch City play and you go, oh, they are beatable. Especially like last year when we watched them play against Leeds twice. They looked really, really fragile against teams that really want to attack them. And I think when teams play against City, they fear City so much that they play with, they want to play a very defensive game. They want to sit back and try and limit the space. And when it works, it's a defensive masterclass. The manager gets a lot of praise. And not a lot of managers will play Manchester City and say to the lads, let's just attack. Let's just go at them and run at them. And obviously not every team can do that. Only certain teams can do that. And Leeds United is one of the best examples last year when... I remember it was at Ellen Road and it finished 1-1. I've never seen a City team scramble to a defence so quickly every time they lost the ball, and they looked very shaky. And it sort of happened with Leeds again at the Etihad, and Manchester United, of course, when they play City, they just attack. They don't really sit back. They don't give City the respect. And I think that's one of the challenges that Pep's going to face next year. Obviously, when you dominate the league for that long, eventually you are going to be found out. And obviously with the Premier League, nobody, automatically wins the league. You still have to work very hard. And even with a team like Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, they still have to work very hard for it. But what I'm trying to say is I think teams are starting to figure out how to play against City, and last year is one of those examples where a lot of teams just decided to not sit back, but they just really went at it. Even teams like West Ham, they only lost 2-1 to City, even though they had a really good game.
But West Ham had a great season last year.
They had a great season, and they were confident, and they were an attacking team.
I'm going to have to disagree, I'm afraid, Colin. Just because I feel like you talk about Man City, I'm guessing you mean like the year they got 100 points compared to now. And I agree, they're not as good. They're not as good as they were then. But I think you were looking at a freak Premier League team then. I don't think that was normal, like to get 100 points.
No, you mean last year? Oh, no, you mean the
year the century, 2018, I think that was. And obviously the following year they got, I think, 97 or 98 points the following year.
Yeah.
I think since then they've lost David Silva, Company, Fernandinho's lost his legs. Not as obviously as fit as he was. Aguero's gone. That's their whole spine that's gone. So they're going through a kind of changing process. Yet they've still won the Prem last year.
But I think they had a bit of luck, and this is my point. They've lost a lot of their good players, and I think they were very lucky to, that the other. I mean, because of COVID and things like that, loads of players isolate and things like that. This is what I mean. They weren't. They were at their best, and they got quite lucky to win last year. And I think this year, if they don't, like you said, they've lost a lot of their really good players.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're really going to be able to play at their best again. I could be wrong, but second is not. It's not. I mean, obviously it's not in the first place.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's my reasoning behind them coming second. They've lost a lot of their good players. They weren't that convincing last year. There were times where
no one. But in that case, no one's convincing then because they've still won the. You can't play 38 games, win the Prem, and it not be convincing for me. It's just not as convincing as they were. Which I agree with. But I think they. Look at the season they won the league and pipped Liverpool to the post. They had to be perfect, and they were perfect. They didn't have to. They were going for the Champions League. They were going for. They won the Carling Cup again, didn't they? Whatever it's called nowadays. And the FA Cup, I think they got relatively. Who knocked them out of the FA Cup? Chelsea. Oh, I can't remember. I think Chelsea knocked them out. Yeah, this year.
Yeah, Chelsea.
Yeah, Chelsea in semi-finals.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they got far. They were going for all four competitions. They were going for a quadruple. They got to a position in the Prem where they effectively won it by like March, and they could take their foot off the gas.
Yeah.
I think had they not been going for the title, whereas Chelsea wasn't going for the title. Chelsea weren't going for the title.
They were going for top four.
They were going for top four, but like it's a different thing between. They were still going
and
for
they had the FA Cup as well.
Yeah, but like
they were still fighting on three fronts.
Yeah, but like compared to City, who have effectively won the Prem, they can take their foot off the gas. Obviously, Tuchel, new manager comes in, they're going to have be revitalised. I don't think that was a bad. I think there were periods where City were as good as they were in season when they beat Liverpool at Anfield 4-1. They were absolutely phenomenal that day. They had a good season. I feel like the end of the season has kind of maybe skewed your judgment, and also the whole Leeds thing. That the first Leeds game, the 1-1 game, that was Diaz's first game, so this defence was shaky at that point. The second game, again, they took their foot off the gas, and obviously, and also Leeds are a phenomenal team as well.
Are you sure you're a United fan?
What? Oh, I know. It's annoying because I hate obviously seeing City and Leeds and praising them both, but it's that they are.
You got to respect.
I respect. I really like Guardiola, mate. I think obviously everyone does. Well, not everyone. Mourinho, people like that.
They are the best team in the world at the moment. So there's no.
I mean, I just think that. I think you can't win a Premier League unconvincingly, in my opinion. I don't think that's possible. I think if you win the Premier League, you've probably done a few good things right. But I know what you mean. It's just because you're comparing them to the previous City sides.
As when they were at their absolute peak, when they were just unstoppable.
When they won back-to-back Prems, I think managed to get 198 points. I can't remember the exact numbers, but I think
it was just on steroids.
It was just. But that is a team that had Company at the back, David Silva in midfield, Aguero up front, Fernandinho a little bit fitter. So they have.
They weren't actually on steroids.
I mean, they might.
They might.
I want it checked because I think they actually were on steroids.
Well,
when they get thrown out, and then I think Liverpool get the title because they finished second.
Yeah.
But no, they'll be up there again, in my opinion first. Obviously, in your opinion second. But I get your point.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to third and fourth. So this is quite interesting because I mean, you say you're third and fourth.
So I'm for third place. Going to go for Liverpool. Do you want me to explain why? Do you want to say
what's your fourth?
Man United, big ups.
So my third is United and Liverpool fourth.
Oh, so close yet so far.
So it's a bit of a.
Interesting. Why do you think Why do you go for your order, and why those teams?
Well, I think United actually had a pretty good season last year.
Yeah.
And they've actually improved as a team. I think if you look at the players that United have, I actually think United have a very, very strong squad. They have very good attacking players. They have good defensive players as well. You just look at the development of Luke Shaw. You guys bought, as a United fan, you saw, you bought Alex Tellers. You thought he was going to be, amazing. But he's just not really got a game, has he? And that's because Luke Shaw's been absolutely amazing.
Luke Shaw's best mates with Roberto Carlos now, mate. He's best mates with Roberto Carlos.
They're getting tips every day.
Yeah, he's the best. He's the best left back to ever grace a planet.
Yeah.
No, I don't know about that, but like he is amazing, and he's going to win the Ballon d'Or this year.
Yeah, so. But so I think obviously now I don't know what you think about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but he has done a job at United, and whether or not you like him or not, I know he's quite divided because obviously he's too nice and he never looks like. I mean, he does look angry sometimes, but
you can be a nice guy and be successful. I can't think of anyone right now, but like I'm just trying to think. Wenger was a nice guy. Wenger was a nice guy.
He was a nice guy.
Yeah. I'd like to say Fergie, but he was a bit, a bit like very Scottish in his ways.
He was a nice guy, but successful.
Tuchel's a nice guy.
Ted Bundy.
He was very prolific. I'd say.
He was very successful.
Yeah.
But
probably shouldn't endorse serial killers.
No,
but yeah.
If you didn't know who he
disclaimer,
is,
we don't endorse serial killers.
Them. And that has nothing to do with football. So moving on.
Yeah.
So my third is Manchester United. I think they've gotten better.
Yeah.
And I don't see why they can't really. I don't see why they're not going to do better than Liverpool because they've just added Jadon Sancho to the squad now. That was confirmed today. So that's extra firepower. And I think they've got great up and coming. I mean, they're not up and coming; they're already quite solidified. I mean, like McTominay, even Fred. We were laughing at Fred when he first signed for United, but he's actually quite decent.
He's actually
now.
pretty good now.
If he sits in there as a double pivot with McTominay, that's a very formidable two in front of the back four because McTominay's 6'12" or whatever.
6'12", also known as 7 foot.
Also known as. I was going to say like 6'9", but 12.
I think he's like 6'4".
He's 6'4".
He doesn't look that tall.
He's a big lad.
Yeah.
He's a workhorse, and he doesn't complain.
No.
So, and you've got Fred as well. He's like a rash. He's just all over you when you got the ball.
Do you know Fred, right? When he first came to United, and obviously I watch him week in, week out, and he used to give the ball away so much, like a crazy amount. And Mitch, who's a friend of the show, he always said to me, he is a good player. He can play, and he actually. I think after lockdown, something happened because I would have him in my starting lineup now.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not every week, but like I'd happily if I saw Fred in the team, I'd go, oh nice.
It's a very balanced team, and I think especially when Bruno Fernandes joined the team, I think that's what really helped United get the ball up the field. They're a very good defensive team and a very good attacking team, but the flow was just wasn't there. And Bruno's obviously linked them two together now. We had this discussion last year who's a better player right now, De Bruyne or Fernandes.
Yeah.
And I think that was a very good question because the impact that Bruno Fernandes has had on Manchester United is amazing. So so that's my third prediction. I think they're going to do quite well this year. They might even come second, really.
Or anything can happen on the day.
But anything can happen on the day. But I mean, we can talk about the slots in which these teams can end up in. But
it's a very kind of fluid. Like we're saying who we think will finish second, third, and fourth, but we're more kind of focused on who we think will
will end up in that top four category.
Yeah. Do you want to go for your fourth? Do you want me to go for my third?
Why do you think Liverpool finish above United?
Probably just modesty more than anything. Like I feel like when you're a football fan, you can't be too confident.
But they finished second.
They finished second last year, but
they've gone out and improved the squad.
They've gone out and improved the squad, and Sancho will be a great signing. Varane, which looks more than likely, will be a fantastic signing. I hope he will be. Like you say, Luke Shaw. I'm so happy Luke Shaw's playing good football. I've honestly had his back for the last 3 years at United. I think he's been he's not been great, but I've always known he could be a really good player.
He's from Kingston as well, which is just around the corner from here.
I'll go and hit him up after this. See what he's saying. Try and get him on the podcast.
He's probably in Manchester.
Or
maybe not. Maybe on holiday.
Oh, I don't think he's on holiday. I think I've seen some tweets going around of him on holiday. But no, I mean, Luke Shaw. I mean, that defence of De Gea, Henderson, whoever, out of those two, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Maguire, Shaw. It's a lovely defence.
That is a
It's
beautiful
lovely
lineup,
defence.
isn't
We've
it?
come a long
Yeah.
way since Alex Butner. And I think that, if we can keep hold of Pogba, Fernandes, the starting lineup now
It's a very strong team.
is a very strong team. I mean, it's just...
Big physical players, all of them.
Yeah, the only thing is it coincides with a very good City team. The reason I think we'll finish below Liverpool, again, probably just simply modesty more than anything else. But I think with Liverpool, they were I know we can talk about injuries all day, and a lot of teams had injuries last season. Obviously, players having to self-isolate, but Liverpool really were hampered last year, like losing their best player. The 2 seasons prior to an injury all season. Joe Gomez had injuries. Henderson had injuries. I think pretty much every single Liverpool player had spells on the sidelines. That could happen again. That could happen to City. We have no idea. We can't predict the future. If we could, we'd make a lot of money. But I think that if they can keep their players fit, I think Van Dijk's back in training. I think Liverpool will start returning to how they were when they won the league. And also, Thiago didn't have the best season last year, but I think he could still be a really, really, really good player in the Prem. And if he can perform, I don't know why he didn't play well. I think he was playing in a rubbish Liverpool side last year. They were awful at times, and I think Henderson being. I don't
know, to be honest. I think Thiago's a fantastic player. Don't get me wrong, but I think he doesn't really suit Liverpool's style of play. Liverpool are a very, very direct team. They get the ball and they counter attack. They just get the ball forwards. Thiago's a bit of not a Jorginho type of player. He doesn't sideways pass as much, but he likes to. He's not the type of guy who takes risks and gets the ball forward and always finds the killer pass. He is a very good passer. He's got good vision, but he doesn't always do that. And when Liverpool go to a sideways passing sort of team, it just doesn't. It's just not that great, and that's not really how Liverpool play. And
I know what you mean.
I know you say Liverpool were injured. They had a lot of injuries last year, but I don't particularly think that should have hampered their progress as much. I think.
What if you lose?
I know, of course, you do lose Van Dijk and you
Yeah.
lose Gomez, and
Yeah.
also for whatever reason Matip couldn't play.
Yeah.
But I think with Liverpool as well, one thing you have to consider is that just like a lot of Jurgen Klopp teams, they are very in the moment. And I think with Jurgen, if you look at his previous teams managed, well, he's only really been at Dortmund and Mainz.
Yeah.
They set the world on fire, and then the flame just starts to die, and it's a little bit like Jose Mourinho's team as well. And he comes in, everyone loves him, he does a job, does it well, and then they just get burnt out. And if you can kind of start to see that in the Liverpool team, Wijnaldum's gone for, he's gone to, was it PSG?
Yeah.
And arguably he was one of their best ball carriers slash creative players.
I think Wijnaldum was just got a bit.
Liverpool.
I think some players do that when you got an offer from PSG, probably really good money to go and play in France for a few years. It's like you're going to take it, aren't you?
Yeah, might as well.
And you're
going to win the league, aren't you?
Well, and he's won the Champions League and Premier League. He's done what he needed to do. But like Klopp's got, since obviously Klopp's been Liverpool manager, he came in to a really rubbish Liverpool side. I think Ricky Lambert might still have been playing at that point. Players like that.
Adam Lallana,
Alberto
Moreno.
Yeah, like just rubbish players. So
won the Europa League.
Who?
Alberto Moreno, didn't he? Villarreal.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah.
Anyway,
Unai Emery. Yeah. I was well happy Unai Emery won it. He's a good guy, Unai Emery. Yeah. That's a good guy that's successful because he won the Europa League.
He wasn't evil, was he?
Huh?
He wasn't a bad guy, was he?
Unai Emery.
Yeah.
No, he's
a nice guy.
Oh yeah, he's a nice guy. That's what I'm saying. That was the point, though, weren't it? We were trying to think of nice guys that have been successful.
No, we're thinking of evil. Oh no,
because he said Wenger's a nice guy.
Oh yeah.
Keep up, Colin. Come on. What were we talking about before that? Liverpool. Klopp. Yeah. Since Klopp's been Liverpool manager, 2 Champions League finals, one of which he won, a Premier League, and a very, very strong second place finish. Any other season wins them the league.
They've had, and this is what I mean. They've had 4 or 5 solid, consistent seasons.
Yeah.
And with Liverpool, the system is very suited. All those players in that Liverpool team, it has to be those players. Okay, you can rotate the midfielders, but it has to be Salah, it has to be Mane, it has to be Firmino, and the backline has to be Trent, it has to be Robertson, it has to be Van Dijk. And I think people leaving and injuries, that's obviously what's broken the system down. But also at the same time, players like Mane, Firmino, Salah, they weren't performing.
No, they weren't.
And that's nothing to do with the
yeah.
defence. That's nothing to do with Van Dijk not
Yeah,
being there.
but
Did they concede that many goals when Van Dijk went out? Or were they just not scoring enough goals? It was, and that's what I mean. Like, they're starting to burn out a little bit.
I disagree. I think their heads dropped when they lost to Burnley at home, which was the first game they lost at Anfield. Was it Burnley? Yeah, it was Burnley, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because one of Chris Wood or Ashley Barnes scored a penalty. I can't remember which one it is. They're pretty much the same person. But that was the game. When they lost their unbeaten home record and City were kind of going above them, it was like, I think they just kind of lost. I don't think they're burnt out. I don't think they're burnt out at all. I think it was literally just... And again, every team had injuries. Every team has injuries every season. But with Liverpool, it was a bit mental last year. It was lovely to watch. I loved, as long as no one's like dying, like it's nice to see Liverpool players
I think that 7-2 was an amazing game.
Oh yeah,
and that was the same day like United lost 6-1 to Tottenham.
Super Sunday.
Yeah,
not very super for United and Liverpool fans, but there you go.
That was a great day of football for all the neutrals out there.
Yeah, but I think if at Liverpool, it may well be that they go and finish outside the top four. It may well be that they go and win it. Again, we don't know how they're going to respond with their old players back. But I think burnt out might be the wrong words to use. But I don't know. I think maybe I'm starting to think maybe I should put United in third because.
I've convinced you, even though you disagree with me.
I think I've convinced I think I've actually convinced myself. I feel like with United, if we can get obviously Sancho's done, if we can get Varane, we'll be looking. And we've been decent now since. I mean, it's literally since Fernandes came in. It's the first match. And going back to what you said about Ole, what I think about him. I'm so happy he got the job. I'm really happy he got the job when he did because it was after Mourinho. It was only meant to be for a trial period. Obviously, we beat PSG in the Champions League, and he got the job permanently. And I think Gary Neville, who I'm basically trying to emulate, if anything. With Gary Neville, he spoke often about how it's going to take years for Man United. Probably, I think he said 3, 4, 5 years.
It has been years.
It has been. Yeah. It has been years since two. But in terms of Solskjaer, he's only had since back end of 2018, and since then he got rid of all the deadwood players like Darmian, Smalling, Jones, players like that.
Mike Smalling,
yeah. Who was that? Van Gaal?
Van Gaal.
Mental. Probably known him for a year at that point. Just Mike Smalling. Probably been calling Mike the whole time he's been at United, and just Smalling hasn't corrected him because he's scared of him. So I think Solskjaer's done when he first started, it was frustrating because we looked really boring, no kind of zippiness to the play. But then in comes Fernandes. He was
the bridge. He was the cornerstone.
Yeah, he's made every single player. I know this has been well documented for the last 18 months.
He's got that arrogance about him, doesn't he, Fernandes? He's got that arrogance that he knows he's good, and he knows he plays for a good team. And
he wants to play every game as well.
He wants to win.
He don't want to rest.
He wants to win.
He wants to win. And one of the most famous Man United players of all time. He's been linked a lot to Cantona. His impact. Man United hadn't won a Premier League title. Or hadn't won a league title in decades before Cantona came in. He comes in and changes everything, and we dominated the Premier League years in the 90s. And Fernandes, obviously, it's harder nowadays because Chelsea are so good, City are so good, Liverpool are good, Leicester are better than they were 5 years ago. It's I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting, and we know we haven't even spoke about teams like Arsenal, Tottenham, Leicester, who obviously vie for the top four. I
don't think we should move on to that now because our teams are quite similar.
Yeah.
So those teams you've just named.
Yeah, I suppose we talk about why we don't think they're going to get in the top four. Essentially,
I mean, obviously Arsenal and Spurs.
Why?
Yeah. I mean, they're not the same team.
No.
But why not Arsenal? Let's start with Arsenal.
Why not Arsenal? Why not Arsenal? Because they need 20 players. They need a whole squad. I don't think
and this is the problem they've had for the last God knows how many years. They just need a whole revamp of the squad. They have very average players, and they've got a world class striker in Aubameyang.
That is pretty much. I mean, the only good thing that's come out of Arsenal having a pretty poor side are players like Smith Rowe and Saka have been called up. So they might have not got the same limelight had they, Arsenal
had
a really
a
strong
good team,
So
yeah.
they're just not good enough to finish in the top four. They will struggle again this season. They've got the right man for the job, Arteta. I think
You
he's
think Arteta's
he's
good
the right
man for
man.
the job?
He's the right man. Who else are they going to get? Like he will do well. He just needs to. The thing is,
He needs time. He needs players.
time and money and players to come in. But Arteta's the right man for the job.
But those are things that you
100%.
don't have in football.
What? Time and money.
Time and money.
Arsenal,
Arsenal at the moment,
Arsenal are the biggest
money-wise.
clubs in the world, and they're like struggling to find a few million here and there.
Yeah, but then
I don't find them down the back of the sofa. I just don't
yeah.
get it.
I mean, they spent 70 million on Pepe.
Yeah, that was a mistake. The recruitment needs to.
I mean, they
the
needed.
recruitment needs to be better. But then they bought Aubameyang for like 35, 40 million, who's turned out to be. And it was always going to be a great signing, but
I think they're making steps in the right direction.
yeah, Arteta was the right step. Arteta was Emery was just never going to do it there, unfortunately. But Arteta is in my opinion, the perfect man for Arsenal. I just think but I think he will get time because I think obviously we are seeing this a lot more now where a club legend is coming back to the club. Lampard, obviously, he got sacked
Didn't
in
really
the
work
end.
out, but-
In the end, but yeah,
That's not a very good example.
Not a very
at
good
that
example.
point.
But like, all right, Solskjaer, for instance, then he's managed to keep that job now since coming up to 3 years. I think Arteta will get time. And also, who do you realistically replace Arteta with? Who are you going to get that's better than Arteta? That was a bit of a rhyme there for you. I'm going to start rapping soon.
Yeah, it's like a riddle, isn't it?
Yeah, but what do you think that Arsenal won't get in the top four? I mean, what do you think their kind of issues? What's their...
I think with Arsenal, I think Arteta's a nice guy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think sometimes tactically he's not got it. He doesn't really get it right, and I think it's a combination of the two. I think he doesn't have the players. I think Arteta's, he's got tactical awareness, and obviously he's worked under Pep Guardiola for X amount of years. So I'm not saying he has no tactical, awareness at all, or he doesn't know what he's doing. He definitely knows what he's doing. He definitely doesn't have the players to do what he wants to do. And that's one of the problems that Arsenal have at the moment. Obviously, if you're gonna get a manager in like Mikel Arteta and you want to play his brand of football, you're gonna have to give him the players that he wants. You can't just have the players that you want now, bring in a manager that wants to play a different brand of football and expect results. And that's the thing with Arsenal. So they do need to invest. So they started off with Ben White.
Ben White.
I think that's a good signing. I think they did need a central defender. I think they might need another one, to be honest. But who did they buy? Saliba? Is that?
Yeah, I don't really know too much about him, but Ben White, sign him up. Ben White, sign him up.
Yeah, so Ben White, £50 million. We'll see if he was worth that money.
It's a good risk to take. Arsenal haven't had
I think attack wise, Arsenal have got what they need. Aubameyang, build a team around him. They got Pepe, he's a winger. They got Martinelli, who looks fantastic.
Martinelli's a decent player.
They got Saka as well, fantastic as well. They got Thomas Partey, great midfielder.
He just needs to stay fit, to be fair.
And I think that is a step in the right direction, getting a centre back. Yeah. They got Leno. Leno's a fantastic keeper, really.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think his defence lets him down sometimes. And so just based on that, I don't think they'll get to top four. They haven't really got the squad. They are, maybe if the recruitment continues to be, it goes in the direction that it is going now, potentially they might fight for fourth place, which funnily enough is what they used to be laughed at about, that they were a top four club and that's it.
They bite your hand off now, wouldn't they, for a top four spot?
Exactly, and now top four is like, gold dust.
Yes, I
think in football.
Yeah.
So what do you think about Spurs?
I mean,
new manager.
Yeah, they've got rid of Mourinho. They got rid of Mourinho, which is mental. I mean, I remember the day that Mourinho signed, and I was in two minds.
You told me that they would win the league.
I didn't I?
You did.
I didn't know.
Especially
when did I tell you when he came in, or was it like during last season? I know it was last season when they were playing well.
I think I came to visit you. Or before maybe.
No, I think
in November.
Yeah.
And you said, "Mark my words."
Yeah. Why are people going to listen to a podcast that I'm doing now when I've made that prediction? Where did Spurs finish?
Where did they finish?
I don't know. Definitely not first. I'm definitely wrong. The reason I said they'd win, because last season there were times where they looked fantastic. There was one game in particular. They beat City at home 2-0. And I think when Mourinho's got like a bit of a swagger about him. You
Yeah.
kind of sense that he's destined for glory. And
I
he
mean,
had
they
that
looked
swagger last year.
amazing.
Yeah,
And they looked amazing.
Why did they fall off? What happened? I think they drew 3-0 with West Ham late on. They drew with Palace late on. They had a few like games where it's like you need to be winning those games if you're going to win the title. They lost to Liverpool quite late on. I think Firmino got a header. I think that was kind of towards Christmas time. But obviously, they didn't win the league in the end.
I mean, they were fantastic to watch.
Yeah.
At the start.
Yeah.
And I know what you're saying. When Mourinho gets it right, it's fantastic.
He's a great manager, Mourinho. His
Yeah.
career's fallen off a fair bit now, which is quite sad. But yeah, I think they'll obviously with Nuno's come in from Wolves.
No, I mean, I'm not saying that's the wrong appointment because obviously
Yeah.
anything can happen, really.
I thought you were going to say no, he hasn't come in there. I was like, yeah, he definitely has. Like, I've seen it, mate.
It's confirmed.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if... I think it works really well at Wolves because he had this sort of mini Portugal around him.
The Portugal national team,
I think that's literally like why it worked so well. And even towards the end, it didn't actually.
Is he Portuguese, Nuno? That sounds like it's probably a stupid question. I mean, but
I think so, yeah.
Is he?
Yeah. I mean, well, I don't know if he is, but he definitely speaks Portuguese.
Okay. Could be Brazilian, though. I think he is Portuguese.
Or even if he is Brazilian, he speaks Portuguese. But yeah.
Yeah, it helps, yeah.
But anyway, so Nuno... yeah, no, I think he's a great manager, and I think it's more interesting. One of the interesting things about
Big step up for him
is that he was a goalkeeper. Goalkeeper.
Didn't know that.
I'll double check that, but it did amaze me that.
It makes sense actually. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
Is he a big guy?
He's a big guy.
Yeah,
he's got a really big beard.
Yeah.
Now I think Tottenham have great players. Obviously, Bale's gone back to Madrid now, and Carlo's going to give him a chance. So it's not going to be like
He wasn't amazing.
He did score some pretty good goals for Tottenham.
He got a hat trick against someone. I can't remember. It leaves me now. It might have been like someone like Brighton or Villa. Maybe I can't remember.
Maybe in like the Europa League or something.
Oh no, I think he scored a hat trick in the Premier. I'm pretty sure. I want to say. But I think when Bale came to Tottenham, it was like, oh my god, he's gonna do amazing. But he's a lot older than he was.
You think about that front three. I don't know why that's so hard.
Kane, Son, Bale.
Front three.
Yeah. Rolling your eyes.
Exactly. Yeah. So Kane, Son, Bale. That's a
you take
wicked
it at the start of the
team,
season,
isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think they had. I mean, they've got really good players. Tottenham. I don't ever really know why it doesn't really work out. I think they've got the same problem that United did before Fernandes came in. Defensively they're not amazing, but attacking wise they're really good. But the balance of the team's not very good. And I think Mourinho realised that after they had those run of games where they performed really well. I think he realised that the only way to get the best out of this team was to just sit back and counter attack because the defense wasn't amazing and because the midfield players, he brought in Højbjerg.
He did well,
and he was a soldier for Mourinho.
Yeah,
he's a hard worker, but he's not like the De Bruyne or he's not a Bruno
very
Fernandes.
Different players again, though.
I don't think Tottenham have that player at all, does he?
No,
they don't have like a player like Mason Mount or something who gets the ball from midfield, drives it forwards, waits for the attackers to get into the position.
Do you know what? In terms of impact, Jack Grealish, if you have to go to any Prem club,
if Jack Grealish went to Spurs, that would be an amazing move.
If they honestly, this is not going to happen, but if they kept hold of Kane and got Grealish in, I'd say
they'd be a top 4 team.
Yeah,
they'd be a top 4 team.
Yeah, they would be.
They'd be dangerous.
But this is the thing. This is why they're not going to get top 4, because it is more than likely that Harry Kane will end up at City. If that happens, there's not a player in the world apart from Haaland, in my opinion, that's good enough to replace him. They won't get Haaland, so they are going to have to play with a striker that isn't as good as Harry Kane. Son, obviously, the partnership between Son and Kane was phenomenal last year. Like in terms of them setting each other up, scoring goals, they were both great. I feel like Son will be a bit, gutted that his colleague is leaving. So I think, they're going to lose Kane, and we've got no idea how.
It will be a miracle if they don't.
Yeah.
But even if they don't lose Kane, without somebody like, I think when they lost Eriksen, they did lose somebody that really gelled the team together.
Yeah, I feel like that. That won't be that's going to be nowhere near as significant as Kane. But I know what you mean. Like it was a loss. That you could tell that it wasn't.
It did impact
anymore.
the team.
Yeah.
And
Kane's captain as well, though, isn't he? Is he captain of Spurs? Oh no, Lloris, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it'll be
Is it
interesting to
Lloris?
see.
Oh,
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Lloris
No,
is the
Lloris is
captain of France team.
I think
French
it might
team.
be Kane that's captain. But again, I might be just making stuff up.
Anyway, so,
Yeah.
I mean, they won't be in the top 4, and it's
No.
because their team hasn't got the balance quite right yet. In a way, they're a bit like Arsenal.
Yeah. I'd take Tottenham's team over Arsenal's, but
100%,
but they're both in need of a revamp. This is why it's good to be a United fan, because we did the revamp a couple of years. Like Solskjaer had to do it. He got rid of he brought in young, fast players to play counter-attacking football, which he wanted to go for, and he's done that now. And he just needs to add to the squad, not revamp it. Man United had a really crap period, but we've managed to do the revamp. I think Solskjaer's done such a good job at United, a job that Van Gaal, Mourinho, and Moyes couldn't do. Which is crazy because all 3 of those managers a lot more experience than.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
Van
I think
Gaal,
with OGS,
August, yeah,
Ogs,
yeah, all that, yeah.
He's obviously got quite a lot of people around him helping him make those decisions, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
I think when you have Mourinho, Van Gaal, David Moyes, they want to do their own brand of things when they come to United. Whereas with OGS, he's gone, you know what, I am true to Man United, but I want to get, Man United opinions, Man United help. He obviously talks to Fergie all the time. He obviously got Michael Carrick next to him. He's got, all the backing of all Man United sort of.
He's a club
legends.
legend, mate. He's a club legend.
And I think that's why he's so successful as well.
I don't think. Yeah, I mean. But like same works for Guardiola. Like he's got a backroom staff. I think there's more people that work at Man City's backroom staff than people that work at like Asda's across the country. Like it's mental. Like his backroom staff's everyone. I think I know a few people that work in Man City's backroom staff. Like it's mental.
Yeah, he actually works in Amsterdam.
But I don't. I think when like you hear him like talking to Fergie and stuff like that, I feel like it's probably more of like just a quick chat. Like
No, I'm sure he asked him. What do you think?
I just think Solskjaer has gone for a similar style of play to what Fergie had going back. Like, we were just a counter-attacking team. We just got teams on the break, and we've got the players quick. Fernandes can just ping balls.
You just had snipers everywhere.
Yeah. What do you mean by snipers? Well, I just like them.
Just like accurate balls.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Fernandes and Pogba, perfect players.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's our.
Should we talk about Leicester quickly, or just?
We should. Yeah,
we should talk about Leicester because
obviously
very unlucky.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Fun fact: Leicester have spent the most time in the top 4 over the last 2 years, but haven't finished in it. Crazy.
Now, do you know what's funny? Somebody from my work said this about Leicester, and I thought it was amazing. They're like a fly with a brick hanging on.
A fly with a brick hanging on them.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Fly, and then somebody's just put a brick with a bit of string on them, and they just keep going down.
How big's the brick? Because that would crush it like instantly.
I don't know if it would work if you really did this in real life.
Maybe
I think
a pebble.
it would just like
flies don't weigh
it's all
that
relative,
much.
isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It's all relative.
I like the metaphor though. Yeah,
I think a bit of dust would be like
a
brick to a fly.
I do like the metaphor though.
But no, they do. Again, I think this is a trademark of Brendan Rodgers, because this happened at Liverpool, didn't it? They were flying high, and then towards the end of the season, something happens. Whether
Gerrard slip,
or losing their heads, and whatever it is, Brendan Rodgers, and he's a great guy. Brendan Rodgers, lovely guy, great tactician as well. He's a really good man manager as well.
Brought like young players through as well.
Yeah, and I just think with Leicester, they don't have an amazing squad. I don't think they have a better team than Arsenal or Spurs, but
I think it's better than Arsenal. I think Leicester's team is pretty good when you think about it on paper.
It's sort of on the same level, but I think what really makes the difference is the fact they've won the Premier League. So they've always obviously Arsenal has as well, but very recently as well.
Yeah. This team is better than this Leicester team right now is better than the team that won the league in 2016 by a country mile. In terms of actual technical talent, you look at that team. It wasn't a great team in 2016. Obviously, the story
that day as well.
Yeah, the story is beautiful, but like this team now. I mean, you look at players like Vardy, Castagne's come in, done really well. Ricardo's a great player. Tielemans, Fofana's been a revelation. Schmeichel's a great. Well. Schmeichel's a great keeper, mate. He's so good. They have got a pretty wicked Madison.
Yeah,
they have got a good team.
They've got a very very good team.
It's a shame because it will be hard to have the near glory of top four football for 2 seasons in a row and then get back up and do it again.
Yeah.
Especially when Liverpool are going to be better,
But
Chelsea
I
are going to be
think,
better.
of course, if you're a Leicester fan, you're thinking, yeah, you'd love to play in the Champions League. But I think the Europa League is a great place for Leicester. And I think they got knocked out by Slavia Prague last year.
In the Europa League.
League. And I just think, you've got a great team. You should be beating them. In fact, you should be winning the Europa League.
Yeah.
And I just think if you can't really beat Slavia Prague in the Europa League, I don't know whether you should be in the top 4 or not. It's a completely different thing, but
that is
if you think about it like that,
Yeah, but are they really going for the Europa League? Because obviously they were at that point when they were getting knocked out.
But do they want to win a trophy?
They
want to win a trophy,
yeah, but
rather than just a top 4.
Obviously, nowadays it's hard to kind of judge because you get top 4 football if you win the Europa League. You get to play in the Champions League if you win the Europa League.
That's why even more incentive to win.
Yeah, I get that, but I reckon it's hard to say, but
it's true.
No, as a United fan, I would rather not. Let's say we didn't finish in the top 4. I'd rather finish 10th and not finish in Europe because I don't care. I don't want to win. I'm not fussed about Europa League. I'd rather play less.
I think
games.
if you're a Leicester City fan, you would, because you're not Manchester United. You've won Premier Leagues. The standard is up there. Whereas Leicester City,
I get that.
You want to win a European trophy.
But let's not forget Leicester have played in the Champions League and got to the quarterfinals a few years ago.
Madrid.
So they are good enough to beat. If Leicester if Leicester finished 4th last year, they probably got out of the groups and had a go at it. They're a good team. They probably would have bought better players because they would have got into the Champions League. But I don't know. They'll be up there again because if Rodgers stays there, if not Rodgers, very good.
And again, they literally could be in the top 4. Anything can happen on the day.
Yeah. I like just kind of plugging our own name in our own podcast.
I mean, there's a reason why.
Because anything can happen on the day.
Yeah, exactly.
How many times can we say it? I think that's pretty much.
Yeah.
I can't see anyone else sneaking into that top 4.
Yeah. I mean, we could be wrong.
I say that Norwich finished 3rd.
Yeah.
To be fair,
Brentford wins the league.
Yeah. To be fair, anything can happen on the day.
Yeah. So that's our predictions. It's gone on a little bit longer than we expected.
Got a lot to say, haven't we?
If you're still here and you're still with us, then thanks for tuning in. Anything to add, Jordan, before we leave? Or?
I think that's pretty much it. Obviously, we'll be doing a podcast on relegation and dark horses next. But that's it for kind of the top 4, yeah.
Yeah, so
maybe some sort of slogan. Say a slogan.
Anything can happen on the day.
Anything can happen on the day. There you go.
Yeah. So obviously, if you liked what you heard today, let us know down below in the comments, and obviously give us a subscribe if you liked today's content. And obviously, there's a bell notification icon next to it if you want to get alerted, get a notification when we release more videos. It'll mainly be podcast stuff.
Yeah.
If you could give us some ideas of some other content that we could create. So
tell your friends about it. Tell your family. Tell your nan.
Yeah.
Tell the man in the chip shop. Just tell everyone.
Tell everyone.
Tell everyone
Spread
to the point where this is the biggest podcast in the world. And Joe Rogan's calling us saying, "Oh, can I get on your podcast?" Like, no, Joe.
Right, that's it. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.
God bless.